So I first discovered woodworking in 1990 when I came across the James Krenoff book.
Yet another one.
I know.
Another Krenoff tragic.
Yeah, and I was really sort of thought, oh, this is great fun, because it incorporated all the. I mean, I at the time was a practicing jeweller, silversmith, and had been most of my life. And I was living in Cable Bay, which happens to be the same place as David Haig lives. So I wandered down the road and said, I'm really, I'm quite taken by this sort of stuff, and had a brief chat about it. And he sort of encouraged me to sort of believe that, it could be something I could do. However, I was still a practicing silversmith and was going to be forever. But I did make a piece of furniture which I gave to my father for his 50th birthday, and it was based on a Coopered Cranovian style cabinet, and that was that. I always said to myself, when I get old, I'm going to make furniture. Didn't realise really that I was going to get old quite quickly. Later in my life, sort of 25 years or 20 years later.
Because how old are you now?
49. And at the age of 38, currently, at the time we were pumping out the Lord of the Rings stuff. Had just, finished, dealing with that. But I just got, sick one day with a blood clot, which was really strange.
Oh.
At the time I was extremely fit, and
not one of those horrible brain things.
No, it was in my in the venous line in here, my chest, into my arm, and they couldn't work out why. But I spent a month off work trying to recover from the blood clot, and then over that summer, which was the summer of 05-06.
Was it like a stroke or something?
No, just a straight blood clot, but it does debilitate you. And then in February of 2006. I was back at the hospital for a checkup to see how the clot was going, and they'd sort of noted that I was actually a lot thinner than had been, and they wanted to just test me in general. In the process, they came across the fact that I had mesothelioma, which is asbestos cancer, at the ripe old age of 37.
And you live to tell the day.
I do.
That's very lethal, isn't it?
So they
That's
said.
what Tom Harrington died from, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Mm.
Yeah. So I said to them,
"Help!" That's what I'd be saying.
I said, so what does this mean? They said, well, to be honest, Thorkild, my wife Miriam and I were sitting there together in the hospital. They said, well, we don't really know because we don't really have a lot of sort of research from this particular type of asbestos cancer. It was in my abdomen, which I would have contracted, or the start of it, back in my teenage life as a jeweller, because it takes 25 years to gestate.
And could you remember coming into contact with asbestos?
As a jeweller in the 70s and 80s, it was a common practice to use it as heat shields. It was common as much.
Right.
It was only in the late 80s that we started going, oh, we should get rid of this stuff. So, promptly said to my brother, who was working with me in the family business, I said, well, I'm not going to spend the last 12 months of my life, which is what the prediction was, sitting here slaving, making jewellery. I'm going to, have a good time, whatever that was. So, Miriam and I got married. We hadn't actually been married. We'd been together for a couple of years. We just hadn't got around to it. We thought it was a good time to get married then. And cliche-wise, we all sort of giggled about what Thorkild's bucket list would be. And I said, well, the first thing I want to do is make some furniture. And it just happened that this school had just opened. And my wife Miriam said, I've just seen that this has just opened. Maybe you should go out here. Came out here to visit. Saw David Haig and John Shaw, who were both tutors originally from the Polytechnic, where I taught as a metalworking, silversmithing tutor.
Where?
At the Nelson Polytechnic, NMIT. So we, sort of gone a full circle there. I was with these same people again. I did a 2-week course, just like any other person would do, and fell in love with it.
Got hooked.
Yeah, got hooked. Did a 4-week course that happened to be following on straight afterwards. Loved it. Did another one, and suddenly I realised I'd been here for 10 weeks, having a great old time. And then spent the rest of that year at home building the workshop and doing chemotherapy and la-di-da-di-da. A year and a half went by and I was feeling quite fit, and the doctors were all going, hang on, what's going on here?
You're not supposed to be here.
No, you're not supposed to be here, and somehow the tumour that was inoperable, I'd managed to shrink it with the chemo and just, I guess maybe the right attitude. And now, all these years on, I have no tumour, a really excellent blood count.
High five.
Yeah, woohoo! and we're all stunned. So in the process, the following year, I think it was 2007.
But you went to hell and back.
Oh hell yeah, God! Pain is nothing now. When I see.
I'm alive.
Yeah, God. I don't like when I feel sick now. It's like.
And when people whinge.
Yeah. What are you on about? So I came back the following year and did the end of term internship at the school as a full timer, and built quite a large glass unit for storing glassware for our own home, and promptly realised I actually was quite good at this, and just out of, I'm not sure if it was just a coincidence, but the school was running the standard 2-week beginners class, and they didn't really have anyone to do it, and on a whim, John Shaw and Helen said to me, do you think you could handle running a class? To which I sort of casually said, shit, yeah, I've had 5 apprentices, I've taught them how to make jewellery and they're all doing fine. And suddenly I became a teacher, and my wife kind of chuckled away because she always thought I should be a teacher. So it was just, took me a while, but I got there. Now I'm a practicing teacher, cabinet maker, student mentor, and that's what I do full time.
Do you like it?
I love it,
You look happy when you're running
I'm really
around.
happy. I charge around like a nutter, and everyone thinks there's something wrong with me, but
You don't stand still for very
no,
long.
I get up in the morning, I'm here, and I'm enthusiastic, and I wear myself out, and I go home and fall asleep. It's great. We've got 3 teenagers. No, we don't. We've got 3 20s in their 20s, they're naughties.
Oh, you've even done that too, yeah.
Yeah, so no kids at home anymore.
Yeah.
But they still come back, as you can imagine.
I know, we've had the boomerang syndrome.
Yeah, big boomerangs. Got one at the moment, actually. Yeah. So, I spent half my year teaching.
So life's good.
It is. And I make furniture and sell
To
furniture.
order?
Yep, only by commission to Nelsonians.
Right. You don't have it in galleries or
No,
speckies or...
I guess I'm being slightly indulgent that I don't pursue the customer. It managed, I guess, because I had a reputation in Nelson prior as a silversmith, and the family business is still going, and we're quite a big part of Nelson, that quite often,
People know you.
yeah, they know that I've transitioned from jewellery to furniture, and I've been seeked out. So
Do you incorporate your silversmithing into your furniture?
oh, definitely, especially when it comes to hardware.
That would be exciting.
I make all my own hardware, all my hinges, all my catches, latches. I make my own tools, all my plane blades are made by myself.
Your plane blades
Yeah,
even?
I did have
But
a
that's
hot
forging.
blades. Yeah, but I'm a blacksmith by blood. My grandparents, fathers were all blacksmiths
The
in
Viking
Denmark.
days.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's right. In fact, my
Have you got little axes and things?
my 4th great
I'm
grandfather's
looking for a little axe.
forge is actually still in Denmark in a museum, all set up. So obviously, the hand skills I was kind of lucky there. Yeah.
You got born with the right genetic
Yeah.
material.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's a very.
So you moved from metal to wood.
Yes.
What's better, metal or wood?
Metal's easier, really forgiving.
Really easy?
Yeah, wood is not forgiving.
Oh, because it's subtractive?
Yeah, you make a mistake and you can't. A piece of metal, oh, I buggered that up. Oh, I'll just melt it down and reform it. I mean, metal's a bit like clay. You can mush it all up and start again.
Once you understand it, I
Yeah,
suppose.
but wood is a wood. Yes, it moves, but it is not. Unless you're making stuff out of MDF,
Yeah.
which is compressed.
Well, it is. It's very complex stuff in the grain, and I mean, it just can go all over the shop.
And what it does and what it's used for. I think that's. I mean, I've drawn very heavily from my ancestry. You know, the likes of Morganson and Wegner are really typical Scandinavian designers.
And you've got the right to do it.
Hey, I
Not
think
like
I have.
all these other bods.
You know, and then a Ditzel, and it's great.
Have you ever gone back to Denmark?
Yeah. I went to school in Denmark from the age of 7 till 9. Yeah.
But you're born here?
Born in Nelson True. Yeah.
So you speak Danish as well?
Yeah. Very confusing though, because people my name's a very old Danish name, and so that's quite confusing. And I have a Kiwi accent. It's like, what's going on? Yeah. And when the back in the jewellery business, people come in and they ask if you speak Danish, you just say no, because otherwise you have to have these hour-long conversations. You don't really, but yeah, it's funny how foreigners love to come to another country and speak their home language. It's kind of a breath of air for them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's good.
So, can I just ask you some random questions now? What's your favourite hand tool?
Hand tool, I have a chisel, a particular chisel, a 40mm Japanese chisel, which is my go-to hand tool from anything that's using as a marking knife to cutting a piece of paper to paring bits of wood.
It's a Japanese chisel.
Yeah, it is. I think I love the metallurgy of it.
You connect with
certainly
that too,
appreciate
level.
some good European chisels because of their crisp, accurate machining, but they don't have a feeling that you can relate to. You don't you can pick it up and you feel, I know this person, this chisel. I actually sense it with my hands what it is.
The plain blades too, the Japanese
Yeah,
ones,
well,
they're all made by individuals
yes,
as well.
they are, and so
Do you have those too?
I make my own blades for my planes, and that's fabulous.
That's pretty bloody special.
Yeah, it's fun that I can, instead of having to get something sent from Nielsen.
Do you use O1 or A1 or?
O1 predominantly, and I sometimes use A2, especially on the heavy oak, especially when I'm sort of dealing with really hard woods.
Yep.
Yeah, you want something that's durable. Yeah.
Favourite machine?
Bandsaw.
Why? Briefly.
So useful. What can't you do on it? I can shape things, I can rip things, I can cross-cut things. It's the safest of all the saws. Let's face it, at the blades going down, where everything else is coming straight at you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Favourite timber?
Well, I'm very partial to New Zealand Black Mairi.
How do you spell?
Black Mairi.
M-Y?
M-A-I-R-E.
Oh, okay.
And it's originally part of the olive family. That is probably the best way of describing it.
Easy to get?
No. Unfortunately, in the 19th century and early 20th century, the majority of the North Island of New Zealand was fueled on Black Mairi. It's extremely heavy, very dense, burns like rocket fuel. It's just hot, hard, and heavy.
Hard.
Yep.
Highly figured, or?
Can be. Extremely dense. You can't dent it with a fingernail.
So how do you use big sections of it, or just small ones?
I tend to use it for fine work because it is so stable. It makes beautiful legs on tables and desks. You wouldn't make it for chairs. It's too hard because it doesn't really have the give. Which, in saying that, then it leaves me using a lot of ash prefer, because I do make chairs predominantly.
That's your thing, is it?
I make chairs.
And you teach a chair making short course,
teach chair making here at the school.
which is part of the full time, or is it?
Yep.
When you teach that, is it open to outsiders as well?
No, there's 2 classes. I have an open class with the full timers, and then I have a set class for a short term 2-week class.
Both on chair making.
Yes, and then I do all the short courses here at the school.
All of them.
Yep.
So, and what would they be?
Beginning cabinet making, bench making, dovetailing, chair making, table making, tool making and plane making. So we do a 1-week class where I teach people how to make their own plane, wooden plane like Cranovian style, with their own blade, which we forge it.
Do you supply the blades, or do
Yes,
they make
no,
them?
I supply the steel, raw O1 steel that we form and forge, and then I teach them how to temper and harden.
You're a one-man shop.
yeah, I do a good cooking show, Sometimes actually I feel like some of the classes are like cooking shows. Just, here's what I prepared earlier, 'cause,
So what's your favourite thing about woodworking?
I guess maybe the best way to describe it, my unfavourite thing is finishing. Not the process of finishing, but when it's finished. And I keep saying to the students, be careful, don't rush, because you'll finish the job. And they look at me quizzically, and I'm like, well, once you've finished it, then what are you going to do? It's done. The point of doing
is that
it is
about
the making.
the enjoyment?
It's the enjoyment of making, and yes, there's...
It's not about having to think, oh God, what am I going to make now?
Oh no, that just, I don't have that problem. I have a list in my head longer than both my arms,
How would you describe your style?
I would definitely say I draw from the mid-century Scandinavian.
And what would you call yourself professionally?
Well, I think I am a teacher. That's what I do. I teach people and I help people.
Do you call yourself a designer maker or a furniture maker?
You could say that, yeah. Cause certainly I do design my own work and I do make my own work, which is, I guess, unlike a lot of the good Danish designers. They aren't makers, they're designers and they work with makers. It's like Hans Wegner wasn't really a maker. He confesses himself he's a terrible maker, but he hung out with Johannes Hansen and Carl Hansen, and there's the Fritzes. There's all these makers and there's all these designers, and they marry so well together. I guess I do both. Yeah.
What do most woodworkers? What should they think more about? Do you think? I might turn these into short answers.
Yes,
by the
fine.
way.
I think it's important to think about the actual execution, the physical execution of what you're doing.
Before you jump into it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Well, not so much that, but just while you're doing it, be pragmatic about your work. Cut deliberately, hold the tool deliberately. Really put on a show to yourself. It's like
Mindfulness?
Mindfulness. I often describe to my early students that when they are using a hand tool like a saw or a chisel, they should pretend they're a snooker player. Be really deliberate about the way you hold the tool. Don't just sort of randomly hold it and sort of stick it in your arm, because that's inevitably what happens.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Yeah.
I'm listening to this too.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
That's good.
I'm a learner.
Be really deliberate and don't just do it.
Don't play. Don't be timid.
Don't
Is
just.
that what
The
you-
word
I'm
just
just
is the
thinking-
killer. I'm just going to go out there and quickly chop off my arm.
Yeah. People wanting to get into woodwork, what would you say to them? Just a sentence of advice.
Start slowly.
That's it.
Don't charge in there
Yeah.
and learn bad habits.
Okay. Just,
Be quiet in your first start.
okay. So, all right. The ring. You got it.
The ring.
What's the story?
Story.
I know nothing.
That's all right. Okay.
So your family company, I don't even know anything about that. So just give me a basic background too.
My father started in 1960 as a jeweller, silversmith, goldsmith, He came to Nelson in 1952,
His name?
Jens Hansen, and got an apprenticeship in Auckland as a jeweller, which was strange really, coming from Denmark, the goldsmithing gurus. Did eventually go back to Denmark in the 60s and 70s on 2 occasions to further his goldsmithing skills, and eventually set up his own workshop, which is still here in Nelson today, run by my brother Halfdan.
How do you spell that?
Halfdan, Halfdan Hansen. He came, our father died in 99, and my brother came back here when 9/11 happened, because at that time he was working in the oil fields as an engineer, a computer engineer, doing seismic stuff. He got kicked out of Tehran, as most people did.
Well, good.
Yeah, and he came and started hanging around with me at the family business.
How old were you both at that stage?
I was 30, he was 32.
And this was prior to the blood clot and all of that?
Yeah. But the ring had been. So in 99 or 98, the Lord of the Rings team, the art direction team, led by Dan Henner, approached us and said to Dad, we're making this movie. To which he said, what bloody movie? And they told him, he said, well, I better read that book then, should I? You know. And they said, we need a ring. And he said, what does the ring look like? And they said, well, we don't know, you come up with something. Which of course was really daft because the description was in the book. So he read the book, read the descriptions, right, fine, made a dozen rings. I think it was even more. He said, here you go. And they said, well, we really like this one, And he made another one, and they said, that's perfect. We didn't quite realise what magnitude the effect that would have. Because suddenly they said, right, we need, 10 of those for that actor and that actor in different sizes. And we're like, okay.
Oh, these all the doubles and
yeah, so each person had to have 3,
For Frodo Baggins.
Yeah, one to wear, one as a spare, one to lose. Because they were inevitably,
What, bloody silver rings?
Yeah, all gold plated, because...
money is no object.
No, money was no object at all. So we started, okay, whatever. It wasn't a big thing. And then suddenly the local Nelson media cottoned on to the fact that we'd made the ring, the prototype and all the, and they started swarming the door. And Dad and I were kind of like, what are you on about? We didn't realise. Media opportunity. And unfortunately it was about the same time that Dad had become ill with pancreatic cancer. So he passed away before the movie came out, actually. To which we said, are you sad? He said, not really.
It's not wouldn't have been the big
of
his life anyway,
he wasn't. He said he was more upset about the fact that his, my daughters were, 3 and 5, and at that time were having a ball of a time with him. They loved him. Great fun. But so after the first movie came out, people started coming to the workshop asking to see the ring. And we're like, oh yeah, okay, because we had the prototype. And this got really out of hand.
Oh, it became like a pilgrimage.
My goodness. And then they said, can we buy it? And we're like, oh, don't be silly. They said, well, can we buy a copy? And we said, oh, I guess so. And suddenly we thought, oh my God.
We're on to something.
This is bad. So nowadays, like, for example...
So if to you it wasn't like, oh great, we'll make 1 million of these, it was like, oh shit,
shit, here we go.
We've got to go into production.
And my brother started building a website, and then, whammo. And now we're sort of dishing out 50 rings a day kind of stuff. Or the family business is my brother.
So they are made.
Yep, we make them in gold, silver,
just
tungsten,
the one that was
platinum.
chosen, or
yes,
or
the one ring. Yeah, the one just like in the movie.
I've never seen it. I'm going to have to Google it.
With inscription or without inscription, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
With the chain, with the certificate. It's humongous. My wife works in the workshop still, in the shop.
She's a silversmith too?
No, she's actually an artist. She's a master's in drawing design. and she's a practicing artist, but an artist's life, as we all know, isn't really a very fruitful one. So it's good to have a day job.
Yep.
Just like I do. I have a day job as a teacher, you know.
Yeah.
Miriam has a day job as a jewellery seller. And you know, every day they come in and say, "We want to see the ring," and she's like, "Yeah, here you go." "I want to be photoed with the ring." "Yeah, okay." "Can we meet Thorkild or meet Hansen?" It's like, "Oh yeah." But she does it with a smile.
I see you're famous.
Apparently, yeah. And Nelson. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is a bit.
Yeah. So
no offence, but it's
no, it is
it's a weird
bonkers.
concept, isn't
Well,
it?
it is. But for some people, it's not. It's humongous. People actually come to Nelson
To see you.
just to see the ring.
Oh,
They'll come. They'll be travelling, and one of their destinations is Nelson, just for that reason.
oh.
Yeah. To come to the workshop where the one ring was made, and see, you know, see the story, hear the story.
All right. Well, look, I'm sorry. I had to.
You had to ask,
You
and you're
had
regretting
to
it.
ask.
Yeah.
All right. So, what else shall I say? Should I say about you? What? That's a really
Well, I
good
mean,
background.
I'm kind of volunteering here as well.
Volunteering?
Yeah, I'm a volunteer.
Oh, you don't get paid.
I only get paid when I teach.
Oh.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
We are a charitable organisation.
Yeah.
The school is actually a charitable trust. So when I teach, I get paid a teacher's wage.
Yeah.
But when I'm not teaching, I'm actually not on a wage here. But I also, in return though, for my, running around the place, helping people, I do have my own space here.
Right.
So I can do my own work here. I'll have a home workshop, but there's nothing as stimulating as working with others, so it's a happy marriage. I get to be here and I get to help people at the same time. I couldn't be happier, really. Yeah.
Fantastic.
What a wonderful environment to teach in.
Oh, I know.
It's not bad. Yeah. Only 10 minutes from town, but it feels like we're an hour away.
I mean, look out there. God.
We are quite lucky in Nelson.
Amazing. I should get a photo of you, I think.